Alright, what's happening, folks? The point of today's video is for the little Nas and Jim Jones thing that's going around like the last couple of weeks or so. I guess whoever ain't up to speed, you know, Jim Jones been saying he a better rapper than Nas and all that other stuff. And a lot of people, you know, taking it out of proportion and all that stuff or whatever. So I just want to throw this out there before I even give my take on this. I ain't picking no sides at all. No sides at all. I grew up on both of these guys right here, and I got love and appreciation for both of them. So I ain't picking no sides at all. And it's just with these artists right over here, because obviously if you put some other artists in front of me or whatever, I will pick a side. But I ain't doing this one right over here. All right, I refuse. So with these two artists right over here, right, Jim Jones, if you ain't up to speed, been saying he's the better rapper, and, you know, saying he got the better catalog, resonates with the younger crowd, his numbers are better and all that other stuff, whatever, right? And people been taking it out of proportion. The thing is, though, Jim do this all the time. Y'all got to remember that. He do this all the time. He sat up there and did it, like, what, 5 years ago when they was talking about, you know, putting him on some list or whatever, the top list of rappers of this year. He said, I can out-rap all of them. He did it when they did, like, the top 50 rappers, and he was up there talking about Pusha T. That's what started that mess with them or whatever. Hey, you know, he do this all the time. The best thing you can do, just not respond to that at all and just, you know, just look the other way. Y'all give it attention, it's going to blow up. And that's what it's doing right now, low key. You know what I'm saying? Because there's certain rappers who like attention. No, I'm not talking about Jim. There's other rappers I'm talking about that be liking attention, and y'all be feeding into them all the time. So I just want to throw that out there. Y'all stop feeding into it, it's going to die down. That's all I'm saying right over here. Now, Jim was saying, right, how Illmatic came out when he was in high school. You know, it was a great album. But, you know, that was back then and this is now, whatever. And so for me, all I'm going to say is, because now I'm going to remind you, I ain't from New York. I'm from Florida. I'm from the South. So I think this is a perfect video to give my take on it, because I ain't around y'all. This is me watching on the outside looking in. First of all, right, you can't just sweep that album under the rug, all right? Because the thing is, though, when I was growing up and when y'all was coming up, pause, goddamn, that album was like the holy grail. Everybody was considering that album the greatest rap album of all time, to the point where people who had a favorite rap album of theirs would be like, man, this is better than Illmatic. Man, what they talking about? This is the best rap album of all time, and so forth. You know, they was doing that. You know what I'm saying? That album started a lot of stuff. I know they was talking about certain rappers. I remember Corrupt sitting there talking about some. That album kind of killed hip-hop. Or it was somebody else that said that, because back then, when albums would come out, they only had one producer. He had a different producer for every track. That's what started how people do it now, whatever. You know, that album started a lot of stuff. So we can't just sweep that under the rug just because it came out, what, 30 years ago? You know, so I understand where he's coming from, because that's the thing about it. Jim got every right to feel the way he feels, because you're supposed to feel like that as a rapper for people who are trying to come in the rap game, okay? You are supposed to feel like you are better than everybody around you, all right? But we can't sweep Illmatic under the rug, regardless if you don't think that's a good rap album, or even if you don't know about it, because it came out, what, 30 years ago? So that's one. So like I said, people blowing it out of proportion. I've seen a lot of people going around asking Nas or Jim Jones and stuff like that, whatever, right? And of course, we can sit up here and say that Nas is the better rapper. We can agree on that. And a lot of folks have been saying Nas and picking Nas or whatever, right? And, you know, pulling up his catalog and all that, whatever, right? Because Jim Jones did admit he messed up when he was talking about numbers and stuff like that. He did admit that. So a lot of people was picking Nas, and somebody picked Jim Jones. More than likely, it was somebody in the younger crowd, which he was pretty much talking about. So, you know, he kind of made his point right there, all right? So, like I said, we can agree that Nas is the better rapper, but this is the point I want to make right over here. Even though Nas is the better rapper, because you got people that is putting respect on Jim Jones' name, and you got some people that's not, or whatever, right? Cool. I just want to say, don't count him out. And I'm going to tell you why. Don't count Jim Jones out, because first off, we can start off with the catalog. That can be up for debate, okay? Because, yeah, Nas has some classic albums. So he has Illmatic, It Was Written. Those two right there alone right there are held to a certain standard, correct? Y'all started fronting on him a little bit once the Nostradamus thing came out or whatever. And I understand because, you know, his music got leaked that year because he was supposed to come out with a double album, the I Am, whatever it was supposed to be called, whatever, right? And I Am was all right. But after that, y'all started fronting on him until he won against Jay-Z in that little rap battle or whatever, right? And so, like, by the time Godson, Stillmatic and Godson came out, you know, y'all was messing with him again. But let's not front, though. Y'all was up here talking about how this man picks horrible beats. Y'all was saying this 20 years ago. Y'all was saying this 20 years ago and talking about his quality of music, okay? I even used to say that back then, like, you know, like even when he was going against Jay, like, you know, Jay-Z make the better music, even though he can rap better, this and that. As I got older, I started appreciating his albums a little bit more, you know what I'm saying? Because we can go from, let me see, Illmatic, It Was Written, I Am. I appreciate Nostradamus too. Nostradamus, Stillmatic, Godson. I didn't really care for Hip Hop Is Dead or that Nigga album. I didn't really care for it. The one with the green dress, I like. Both of the Lost Tapes. You know, he got some great albums, okay? And we're going to get to all the other albums later on too, whatever, right? But my thing is, though, y'all used to be talking about his quality music. Now, as for Jim Jones, he always had haters also when he was coming in the rap game or whatever. But all I'm going to say is his projects that he dropped, regardless, they might not have been as big as Nas's albums or whatever, but they was always, you know, appreciated in the streets or, you know, to the mass or whatever. You feel me? Like, everybody was listening to that Hustler's Poem. Shoot. I like, what's the one? Take On My Way to Church or the other one afterwards. You know, Jim Jones always had great projects. Not just projects, mixtapes too. So I just want to throw that out there. That could be up for debate. And not to mention, same way how Nas done dropped these later albums that he done got Grammys for and stuff like that, Jim was doing the same thing too, okay? Let's not sit up there and act like people ain't been sit up there complimenting Jim on how he stepped his craft up, okay? Because I say he stepped his craft up around the time, like, everybody like to mention wasted talent. I say when he dropped In the Kitchen. Because, like, right before he dropped In the Kitchen, he did that little Hot 97 freestyle with Dipset or whatever, where they had Freaky Zeke rapping. And not to mention, they did the Victory freestyle with Cam and Jim. And Jim was rapping on Big's part. And he killed it. And this is an unpopular opinion. No, I ain't even gonna do that because I already know how y'all New York people is, right? I ain't even finna sit up there and do that. I could do that for another video. But he killed it, right? So wasted talent. So I say In the Kitchen is when you can tell the difference right before he signed that Roc Nation deal. All right. Now, as far as Nas go, like I said, he dropped. He's doing it. Both of them are doing the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, their projects have gotten better over time, and their appreciation or people appreciating them has grown a little bit more. Like I said, whatever, right? But I will say this because I'm from Florida, right? I'm from Florida. I ain't from up north. I ain't from New York or whatever, right? One thing I can say about Jim Jones, I appreciate when New York rappers, you know, give love to the South. And I feel like he's one of the best rappers from New York to collaborate with down South artists, okay? And that's no disrespect to anybody else. So no disrespect to Lox, because they always, you know, giving appreciation to the South. Joel Santana, I say he's number 2. Who else? Fabulous. A lot of folks, even Jay-Z, you know what I'm saying? But I feel like he's the best one because when he collaborates with down South rappers, he could be collaborating with somebody from Mississippi, Texas, or Atlanta, right? And it just blends in perfectly, okay? Pause. It just blends in perfectly because, you know what I'm saying, it just sound right. He was always versatile like that, even back then when y'all was saying he couldn't rap and was still making good music back then, though, all right? A lot of them other folks, they just hop on the track and they just rapping and that's it. Nah, he actually sound like he belonged on there. So that was one thing about Jim Jones that I always appreciated. So that's very important because, like I said, as a down south person on the outside looking in, you know, that is important because, like I said, y'all already know the South took over rap about over 20 years ago at this point. Okay, so I just want to throw that out there. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm pretty sure if anybody from the South had to pick, because it ain't just about New York. It ain't just about New York, because that's what I'm trying to tell y'all. Don't count Jim out. You know what I'm saying? If people had to pick, if they knew or cared, more than likely, you might have some older heads still pick Nas, but you might have a lot of folks pick Jim also. So I just want to throw that out there too. All right. Now, also, what we can't forget, let's because I had mentioned him earlier, right? Now, first off, like I said, Nas, he had some great projects. I'll say, what's that one project he did with Kanye, the Kanye West? You remember when Kanye was dropping an album every Friday or something like that? Nas was in that mix. And I ain't gonna lie, we was not messing with that album at all. Nobody was. Nobody, okay? I forgot what it was called. He had that little boy holding that AK and stuff like that. We did not like that at all. The best one was Pusha T, all right? Now, I just wanted to mention that or whatever, right? Because remember, Jim Jones did go back and forth with Pusha T. Y'all already know Pusha T, he ain't no joke, okay? But guess what, though? Because y'all already know Pusha T won against Drake, you know what I'm saying? And whether that holds a lot of merit to y'all or not. But like I said, Pusha T ain't nothing to play with, okay? Now, to my understanding, y'all tell me if I'm wrong. When them boys started going back and forth, I did not hear nobody say Jim lost. I was hearing people say Jim was winning, if anything, you know what I'm saying? Or he held his own. Y'all tell me if I'm wrong, though. So that's all I'm saying. He didn't lose at all. So that's all I'm trying to get y'all to understand. Don't count Jim out, okay? He been doing this for a while, too, okay? And regardless if he resonates with the younger crowd, okay? Because it all depends on what you're looking at. Okay, yeah, he might resonate with the younger crowd, and he could probably make a better hit depending on, because Nas is a bigger artist, okay? So Nas will probably make a bigger hit, but you know what I'm saying? Which one will be appreciated more? Who knows? It all depends on what you're looking at, okay? But don't, like I said, don't count them out, because when it comes to, like I said, catalog, whose catalog is better, Nas or Jim Jones? Shoot, my phone about to die soon. So whose catalog is better, Nas or Jim Jones? Okay, because I ain't gonna hold you. I listen to both artists. It all depends on how I'm feeling. Because, like, I ain't gonna lie. Like I said, me being from down south and stuff like that, because Jim was on the mixtape scene and, you know, on the album scene, whatever, up there, up north and stuff like that, because I grew up in the trap era. I ain't gonna lie. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna say whose is better, but like I said, Jim Jones projects are pretty dope, and I feel like it is something to be talked about and could, you know, I guess be debated on upon who's who. You know what I'm saying? I will say, because a lot of people say that Jim never left his adolescence, and, you know, I ain't even gonna say nothing about that. That's for y'all to decide if y'all feel that way or whatever. Yeah, Jim Jones, he said he still make YN music, and Nas, he did grow up, because I seen somebody sitting there posted a Nas song talking about a rapper who, you know, was in his 30s and still trying to act young and stuff like that. They try to say, oh, yeah, you talking about Jim Jones 20 years ago. Look at that. Well, that fits him perfectly now. Hey, all that do make sense, because, yeah, I do feel like as you get to a certain age, you need to be holding yourself to a certain standard also, and need to be acting your age. So that could make a lot of sense too. So, but I just want to throw that out there. Don't count Jim out, just for those little simple reasons that I said right over there. But y'all tell me in the comments who y'all think is better. How about that? Y'all tell me in the comments who y'all think is better or how y'all feel about this. Because like I said, I ain't picking no sides. I love both of these guys right over here, because I grew up on both of them. All right, I appreciate Jim. I appreciate Nas. You know, I hate to see that Jim is beefing with Cam and stuff like that. Because like I said, I grew up on all them guys growing up and stuff. Like, I always had appreciation for New York rap and stuff like that, regardless of growing up in the South. I always had love for New York rap, and I still watch it to this day, regardless. You know, people always say, like, you know, we got it down south or whatever. I'm going to still be listening to that New York rap, regardless, old or new. But y'all tell me what y'all think in the comments. Who you think is better or how you feel about this.